Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, February 20th, and I was not on yesterday because yesterday is a federal holiday, and, just I think for my own well-being, I'm trying to stick with that pattern that I started a while ago, and I know I haven't done the show consistently for a while, so not doing yesterday was a little weird, especially after doing it for pretty much about 2 weeks straight now, maybe a week straight. But it wasn't for any other reason than it was a holiday. So that being said, today is more of an op-ed. It's more of an opinion-based perspective. Well, it's my perspective, right? So there you go. But I do hope there's some teachable moments in here. So, to me, there's two kinds of depression. Okay, and this is just me. Okay, I'm not a clinician. I am not a therapist. I am not whatever in any other way. And I want to make that clear. This is why I'm giving you my disclaimer. This is my opinion. But I feel like there's two types of depression. I believe there's like situational depression, and not necessarily grief. Grief is like a whole emotion of its own. I mean, I think it falls under the mental health umbrella, but, and I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. So hi, disclaimer, but just, I think there's some things that cause people, like maybe trauma or, lots of different things that can cause people to really kind of spiral into depression and make it hard to heal, but then you get to this place where you've kind of found this enlightenment in yourself, your trauma has been healed, and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like the sun is shining. And then there's some of us who have a chemical imbalance. And sometimes it's caused by, abuse of substances. Sometimes it's just who you are and your makeup. And unfortunately, this is one of those things that seems to, after talking to family members on both sides of my family, seems to run in the family. So, there was no way Shelly Marie was getting out of this world without having some kind of weird chemical imbalance. And I don't blame anybody in my family. It's just DNA stuff, right? And, you go through life trying to heal it. So we try to leave our next generation better than we were, but I'm not doing so bad. I think my parents did a great job raising me, but the one thing we never talked about, there's the but, right? The one thing we never talked about was mental health. My parents grew up in an era where you did not talk about your mental health. You did not discuss any kind of mental health. To be honest with you, older sibling in her family, they did. Well, they dealt with her mental health. And that was unusual for the time because, when you would hear, getting help, that usually meant a lot of bad things. Experimental treatments. That's supposed to, it's basically knocking the life out of you so that you're basically a vegetable for the rest of your life. And, people always say, but it was experimental. No, that's just traumatizing somebody even more. And if they did survive, they probably, were definitely traumatized for the rest of their life. So that being said, one of the things that bothers me is when people find out I'm on an antidepressant. All right, I'm only on one, and I'm on a thyroid medicine. Now, full disclosure, I have not been on my meds for about a month now. And it's because there was a bad mix-up with my medical, and it's taking me forever to get back into the system, and then it's taking me forever to get back onto the program that I was on previously because the group I see is completely different. They're kind of their own big little city. They entail everything from the pharmacy to the surgeons to the ERs to the hospitals. They're their own little group. And so it's not like you have this other kind of plan, and it's just because that's who I've been with almost my entire life, and so it works for me. But one of the reasons I'm telling you that is because not being on my thyroid med and not being on my antidepressant, it messes with my memory and it messes with my thought patterns because there's just so much going on in there. And I was out on Saturday, and I remember calling older sibling on the way home. And I was almost in tears because I told her, I said, I was always one of those people that believed I could get off the antidepressant, that I could just, live without it. And I said at one point before my medical got all messed up, I was actually considering, stopping it for a little while to see where I was at. Now, Granted, I'm not on my thyroid meds, so that's just like the double whammy, okay? So not having the one med and not having the other med is just, it's like a perfect storm in my head of just like, woo! And you have to kind of take those a lot more moments to just find that mindfulness, to not just at somebody else. So, it's not easy, but I found the rainbow in all of this. It is teaching me mindfulness, and it is teaching me patience. But I also had to acknowledge the fact that, I had patience, but it could be better. But it's definitely teaching me mindfulness and teaching me how to really kind of go in love, just go in love. Because, is it worth it losing our shit? Oh, absolutely not. But, I think one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this was strictly about the antidepressant. So, I'd always thought that I'd be one of these people that had what I refer to as situational depression, like something that has happened to you, traumatized you, given you PTSD or CPTSD, and then, they help you with these meds to help level you out. And then, you're able to just kind of heal yourself and move forward. I don't know a lot of people that have moved off of the antidepressant, but, I'm sure there are people out there. There's a group out there, and they talk about how you can go into remission for depression. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so when you stop and think about it, depression is like any other illness. Well, it is any other illness, but it's like chronic pain. It's invisible. Most people can't see it unless you know somebody with chronic pain and you know what they look like when they're in pain or how their skin tone changes or whatever. But it's very similar. Depression has flare-ups. I don't know how else to put it. People call it episodes, people call it this, people call it that, but I'm going to call it a flare-up because it's kind of what it is. It sneaks up on you. You don't realize it's sneaking up on you, and then poof. Now, for me, my antidepressant helps me with this. It helps kind of take the edge off. And that's exactly what I need for it to just take the edge off. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, my antidepressants ran out before my thyroid meds. So, I was doing okay on my thyroid meds, but I was still struggling, with the depression and everything. So I know it's not a combination of both, okay? Because I was off the other long enough to know that I needed to be on both. So, not being on the thyroid med doesn't have anything to do, really, to be honest with you, because I'm remembering this now of what, I need to be on. And I think what bothered me is that I started stigmatizing myself. You look around and people are so quiet about their mental health, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm not sitting there and telling you, hey, go step on your soapbox and preach to the world, hey, I have depression. No, you don't have to do that. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it so that we can be honest with ourselves, in the privacy of our own home. But I'm a very open book about being a mental health advocate, especially after my friend, I never want to use the triggering words, right? But, after my friend passed away from, when she took her own life. I know it's still a bit of a tough subject, but I realized if I hadn't been so ashamed of my own mental health, could I have maybe helped in some way? And I don't know. I'll never have that answer. And eventually, after a couple of years, I stopped asking myself that question. Could I have helped? Because, but then I took this up and I thought, well, you know what? If I couldn't help one person, maybe I can help other people. And I have to say, and this isn't tooting my own horn, I'm so grateful for the people that give me feedback and say thank you. And, because it tells me that me opening up and sharing my story is helping somebody else. And, these aren't people who preach it to the choir, preach it to the masses. These are people who just, they go on their way. I have a gift of talking. I have a gift of coming up with things when my brain is not going in 20 directions. But unfortunately, I am one of those people. I shouldn't say unfortunately. See, there I'm stigmatizing it again. I am one of those people who has a chemical imbalance, so I do not have a choice. I want to have a choice. I do. But I realized this a long time ago when I first decided to see where I was at and stopped my meds. And then I thought, you know what? I have a feeling this is going to be a lifelong thing. And then I was okay with it. But then I started stigmatizing myself again. And then this last weekend, I was just kind of like, you know what? This sucks. Why do I have to be? Why this? Why that? And I realized that when we stigmatize these things, we're kind of stigmatizing everybody, right? If I don't think I'm worthy enough for somebody or people in general or to be in this world because I'm on an antidepressant, how do other people feel? How do other people feel when they hear me saying that? You know, because I could be talking to someone who is on an antidepressant and they don't share their mental health, but they're working on it, right? What happens if I sit there and go, well, I didn't want to be one of those people on it for the rest of my life? So to this I say, fuck those thoughts. Seriously. Because you know what? I had to have a come to Jesus with myself, seriously. And I had to remind myself that, yeah, I need a little more help sometimes to be balanced. These things help take the edge off of my depression and my occasional anxiety. And, you know, I don't want to stigmatize myself anymore. I don't want to make myself feel bad because I'm doing what I can to take care of myself. But I also wanted to talk about how people will sit there and go, oh, well, you don't need to be on that. You should try this because this worked for me. Everybody's different. And I know that a lot of us don't want to disappoint the people that are trying to help us. Okay, because I've had people say that to me. I have had people literally in my own family say, well, maybe you should try this because this works for me. But we don't have, you know, we may be related, but we do not have the same chemical makeup. You know, there are things I thought about sharing because of things I've noticed throughout my life of people who have ended up on antidepressant. And let me say, changes to the body, I mean like traumatic changes to the body, can also cause that chemical imbalance. And I'm going to leave it there because I don't want people who might be struggling or might be going through this, that, or the other, looking in their thing going, oh my God, am I on an antidepressant? I have to get off of them. I made that mistake once. And I noticed the change when the person found out. And, you know, I thought I was being helpful. I think I was being more harmful than helpful. So I've always tried to keep my head on my own, or my face in my own paper and my own pages, and just remind myself that, you know, what's best for me may not be best for someone else. And I think that's what we have to remember in the long run. What's best for you may not be best for somebody else. We have to end the stigma of people being on antidepressants. We have to end the stigma of people wanting to get help. I'm going to tell you this right now because I think a lot of people don't understand this. Going to seek professional help takes a hell of a lot more strength than trying to do it on your own. And I say this because there is going to be a stigma with somebody. You could stand in a room of 10 of your friends and individually tell each one, hey, you know what? I haven't been doing well, so I'm going to therapy. And there's always going to be that one person that says, are you sure you need it? Do you sure that's the right thing to do? Do you really want to be talking to a stranger and telling them your story? That's what they're trained for. That's what they're paid to do. They're not here to run your life. You know, I mean, a good therapist. I am sure there are some bad ones out there. I've been on Twitter. I have a lot of people I follow on my mental health account who have had terrible experiences with therapists. I've been very fortunate. They're not going to tell you how to run your life. They're going to guide you and help you to come up with the tools to build your arsenal of, you know, mental health weapons to help yourself, to ward off all that negativity, to just kind of, you know, if somebody says something, you don't feel triggered by it, or you learn how to heal those triggers. It's about healing. That's what therapy is about. Therapy is about healing, or it's about helping people who struggle harder, you know, to keep that balance. I mean, I only have to go to therapy once a month. And I haven't been to therapy in a while because of the medical issue, but it's like, oh God, I didn't realize how much I missed that either. You know, because it's somebody who is an unbiased ear. It is somebody who's there to listen without telling you, well, you try this or you try that. And I admit, sometimes I'm one of those people and I'm learning how to not overstep because I am a fixer. And I'm a recovering fixer. I know what the pain feels like, but I also realize I can't push people faster than they're ready to go. I can't push people, in a direction they may not be supposed to be going. Everybody has to heal themselves. Can we guide people? Yeah. Can we be there for them when they need an ear? Or if they say, well, what did you do? Yeah. But I always preface when I say this is something I did, it may or may not work for you, but hey, you're welcome to try it. Because like I said, what may be good for us may not be good for everybody else. And I realize now that all this time I have spent guilting myself and shaming myself, I could have been spending it, just building myself up and telling myself, hey, you know what? It's okay. You're not, there's nothing wrong with you. Everybody has their issues. Everybody has their things that they go through. Everybody has their moments and sorry, my hair's just bothering me. They have their thing. Baby sibling always says, do your due. Okay, do your due. And I love that. I don't know if it was an accident or if it's something she picked up or what, but I love that. Do your due. Do your thing. Don't let other people try to tell you, well, this works for me and that works for me, and it'll work for you because it's natural. And like I said, I'm all about the natural stuff in conjunction with, because we don't know what's going on with somebody else. Look at all the stupid crap that happens in the world. And then everybody blames it on mental health. It's like, you know what? Don't sit there and use mental health as a shield because you spend so much time stigmatizing it that nobody wants to get help. But then when something bad happens, oh, they had poor mental health. Well, yeah, they fucking had poor mental health because mental health care is hard to access. I'm lucky. Like I said, the medical I do belong to, everything is encompassed in there. Everything, including the therapists. But, it's almost an act of God to get a referral sometimes to a therapist. Or, it takes forever. And a lot of people don't want to do it because the intake can be hard. Or they stigmatize it and say, well, what do you need that for? You need to be stronger. That was my mother. My mother to me, when I told her that I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder when I was 23 years old. Well, you need to be stronger. That's not how I raised you. I am stronger. After she passed, and I thought about this in the last couple of years, and I know I've talked about it. I love my mom. My mom just was part of a different generation. Okay. My dad, I think because I told him how my mom reacted, I don't know if he just reacts in a way that says, well, I don't understand it and I don't get it, but I'm trying to, because he is trying to, but I don't know if it's because my mom was just like, nope, I'm wiping the, or whatever clean of this. Because she couldn't deal with it. So my dad will sit there and tell me, I don't understand it, but I'm certainly glad I don't have to deal with it. And I always tell him that I'm glad. I said, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I might wish on some people I don't like, but that's a terrible thought, right? And I don't mean that I personally know. You can take that comment any way you want. There's some bad people in this world. There's some bad people in this world. But to be honest with you, if we had that, actually I probably wouldn't, because that would just make it worse, right? Anyways, see, side thoughts that just come out of my mouth that should not. But no, I would never, to any human who's just trying to live their best life, I would never wish this on anybody. I wouldn't, because the balance is hard and it takes work. And, like I said, when it comes to all these bad things that happen in this world, I get so angry when I hear them blaming mental health, because mental health advocates have been trying to get people help for so long. But there are certain communities, there are certain cultures, there are certain everything that just stigmatize it. There are certain generations that stigmatize it. Not all of them. Now, mind you, it's not 100% of each one of these people, or groups, but, it's a good percentage. And then a lot of times people will go and hide it. And then, I remember, my mom thought I was hiding something from her, because I told her, I said, yeah, well, I can't on this day because I have an appointment. And she was like, you have an awful lot of appointments. Are you doing kids? Oh yeah, I'm fine. I was going to therapy. And finally I told her, and she's just like, oh, so supportive. But I realized it was something I had to do for myself. It was something I realized that I wanted to be better. And if being on an antidepressant and being in therapy, is what will do it, then that's great. I mean, for me, I'm fortunate enough that once I get to a certain point, I actually don't go to therapy until I need it again. And so a lot of, like, right now I've been on this healing journey. It's been upending me. The last time I started therapy was back in 2017. So and that was like 6 months of intense therapy. So between 2017 and 2023, it's 6 years I hadn't been in therapy. And so I'm fortunate and lucky for that, because I have learned a lot of tools. And my therapist is very gracious in telling me, you have a lot of tools. You just need to use them. And she's not wrong. But I wrote this down. So I wrote some of these notes down because right now I'm going to have to use a lot of notes just because my brain is not firing on all cylinders. But I wanted to cry when I realized that pills take the edge off of my depression and anxiety. I tell people to be proud of who they are no matter what. I even talk about being on them. But when I realized I truly need them, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And it did. And I felt guilt and I felt shame. And then I felt guilt and shame for feeling the guilt and shame. Because it was kind of like, how can I preach this to other people? And I don't mean preach it in that way. How can I talk to people, open myself up to people and talk about these things and then, stigmatize myself? So then, after that I wrote, so I am truly embracing this now. No shaming, no guilt, but showing that we are just as capable as anyone else. We just have to balance better than most and honor our feelings when the depression flares up. So, and we do, I mentioned last week how I always have a purse big enough. I actually have a journal in my purse. Okay. It's thin, it's flimsy, so it doesn't take up a lot of room, but I do keep a journal in my purse just in case I have these moments where I just need to get something out of my head. And, sometimes I know it's going to be one of those days, I will take my actual journal with me. And, because I know it's going to be a lot and I want to keep it in there. And sometimes I think like my journals aren't just, places for me to doodle and write things down. They are literally a look into my mind at different periods of my life, right? I mean, that's what a journal is. If I were a genius, right, and everybody knew my name like Albert Einstein, these things would be on display someday. Like, this is the mind, blah, blah, blah. Look, there's a flower and a Winnie the Pooh honeypot drawn onto this page, or, just silly stuff like that. But they're not silly. These are things that just kind of make you feel good, that remind you that you are a part of this world. And to be honest with you, we struggle, I think. I don't mean to speak for everybody who has a dinged up mental health, but I think part of the issue is we are a lot alike, no matter what our diagnosis might be, because we do just want to feel worthy. We do just want to be loved by other people. We do want to be liked by other people. But I think sometimes, like a lot of insecure people do, we will hustle ourselves to get that worthiness. And we shouldn't be doing that. I have a whole thing written out about the pineapple, right? And I'm going to post that later on my social media. But I was basically talking about, a pineapple looks a little sketchy from the outside, right? I mean, it looks like it's literally going to try to kill you. I mean, but then when you pick it up, it's like, oh, it's not as pokey as I thought it was. And then you smell it because you get that whiff of a really ripe one. You're like, whoa. And then you open it up and there's this beautiful thing inside. I mean, I learned on a TV show that pineapples are a sign of hospitality. I also learned what else a pineapple means, but I'm not going there. But and that was from another TV show. I'm like, hey, what? It's like I'm literally walking around with a pineapple on my arm. And I said, I hope people don't get the wrong idea about that. Because on the top of my pineapple, it says, this was actually a baby sibling and me thing, which is kind of the side joke, right? So, and this is also how my brain works. It gets a little sporadic and often 10 directions at one time. But I talked about, I was getting a little annoyed that everything that had a pineapple on it was referred to as being Hawaiian, okay? And just like everything that has like avocado on it is Californian. But, so I was joking and I said, yeah, I'm going to put a pineapple on me so everybody knows I'm actually, Hawaiian bloodline. And baby sibling says, I'll do it too. So then it became a thing. So I turned mine into a message. And the top part says, Mai iloko mai, which in Hawaiian means that which is within matters. So at first glance, somebody might look at a pineapple and go, that just does not look completely appealing. But what's inside is what's going to bring you joy. Now, I'm not a big pineapple fan, believe it or not. But but believe it or not, I do like it on pizza now. I know, right? I mean, I was shocked too. However, that's a whole nother controversy of its own, right? And here's a fun fact. Hawaiian pizza, the reason it has Canadian bacon on it is because it was invented in Alberta, Canada by a Greek immigrant. Right? Right? I believe he was a Greek immigrant. I just thought that was hilarious. I'm like, because I always wondered my whole life, I Googled, why is Canadian bacon on Hawaiian pizza? I mean, you know, Hawaiians are big with their Kalua pig dishes. There are a lot of pork dishes. So why Canadian bacon? Why not just regular pork sausages? And then that's when I found out. So you're welcome. Now you know. All right, you can Google the guy's name. It was a really interesting story, but I thought it was great. And, you know, he just called it a Hawaiian pizza. So I'm going to end it with this. I know, I was talking about something completely different. See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. My brain, you know, so this is what I'm saying about being on these meds. They, being on my thyroid medicine, but definitely being on my antidepressant, they help me keep my thoughts organized. Otherwise, it's like herding cats inside of my head, you know. But yeah, I don't like when, you know what, for anybody watching this that doesn't have a mental health issue, now you see how much we struggle. And now you see how hard it can be. And now you can see why some days are so exhausting when we're trying to keep it together. You know, or why people do the fake it till they make it. Because a lot of people don't understand the whole, well, you're feeling like that again. You always feel like that. It's like, you know what? Sometimes just be supportive. Be an ear. It's not always about the needs of our own. And like I said, I feel very fortunate because I feel like I won the jackpot of diagnosis. And I mean, I know major depressive order sounds, you know, bad, but there are varying degrees, right, of major depressive disorder. I like to call it, you know, mild, medium, and spicy. And I don't think I'm spicy, so I'll go with medium, you know, mild to medium. So it's not too much, but it's enough that I know I have to maintain it. And I know that I shouldn't stigmatize the meds anymore. I'm not going to. I have to learn to embrace this. I have to end my own stigma that I have placed upon myself, because that's how we get through things, right? That's how we realize that, you know, where our worthiness is. And this Aristotle quote just kind of hit me between the eyes. It was in my other journal. So it's called, Knowing Yourself is the Beginning of All Wisdom. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. So just to kind of clarify, this weekend I realized, with my mind spinning out of control and just my moods kind of going in every direction and really trying to just maintain this balance until I'm back on the meds, I had to come up with a plan. So I found a self-help book that I've had sitting around for forever. The only thing it was helping was whatever it was propping up. On top of my regular journaling every day, I also have a mindfulness journal and a journey within journal. The two journals, the mindfulness and the journey within, I do 1 page a day. And I do everything in the morning because I figure it's going to help set the tone for my day. I have a book sitting next to my chair downstairs. I have a book next to my bed upstairs. So I have an upstairs and downstairs books. And that way, if my mind starts to go a little, you know, haywire, I just pick up the book and try to, you know, just kill whatever thought is in there. Because probably not the best choice of words. I try to diminish whatever thought is trying to creep up on me and just kind of upend my day. So, yeah, I do apologize that this is all over the place. I probably should have mentioned that the perspectives for a while might tend to be going in every direction. And I'm going to do my best to keep them on track, which is why I'm making notes. The notes I made, I'm terrible at notes because when I make notes, it's basically the whole thought. I'm not good at shorthand. But I I want people to remember, if someone tries to tell you, well, you shouldn't be on those or you should be this, you have to make the choice for yourself. Okay? Because some people are probably on antidepressants that may not need them anymore. Who knows? I'm not telling you to quit your meds. Do not do that. Talk to your doctor. Ask them, hey, do you think I'm in a place where, and maybe they'll taper you to the next one down and see how that goes. Because trying to do things on our own sometimes, I really think that's what upends us. I mean, I've known people who did not have a good outcome after they were consistently trying different meds because they wanted it to work like this. I'm lucky my body metabolizes my meds very quickly. And it could very well be because of my heart issue. I mean, it's a repaired heart, but I got to do things to protect it, right? To keep it safe, especially when you go to the dentist. My body has always had to learn how to metabolize things quickly. Especially going to the dentist because they had to take the antibiotics, right? To protect your heart so you live. Nothing like dying at the dentist, right? So nobody wants to do that. But let's not stigmatize ourselves, okay? Let's get people the help they need so hopefully and potentially less bad things can happen. And let's stop pinning the world's problems on mental health, okay? Because it's the people who stigmatize it that sit there and point, well, they had mental health issues. It's like, yeah, but you're making it difficult for them to get their meds. You're making it difficult for them to stay on their meds. You're making it difficult for them to have therapy. I mean, there are some health plans that don't even cover therapy, so people don't want to go because it's like $200 a pop in some places or $150 in some places, which, hello, but you can also do it in the privacy of your own home because somebody had the brilliant idea to come up with online therapy. The group I belong to, I can actually do them at home. She's like, my therapist was like, well, if you are ever if you're ever not able to make it in person, we can do this online. We can do a web thing happen in a Zoom. And I was like, that is the worst idea for me ever. And she's like, why? And I'm all, because I squirrel. I mean, that's one of the joyful parts of my depression is that I am a squirrel. I mean, you think I'm squirreling now? This is the squirrel in its full bloom. When I'm on my meds, I can control the squirrel. Okay, when I'm on that one antidepressant, I can control the squirrel. But right now, whoo, she's in every direction. And I actually find it kind of a delightful part of my depression. It does cause a lot of giggles. So, and not just for me, and I don't mind. I mean, my friends would be like, there she goes again. It's like, I can't help my brain. My brain does what it does. And I think all of our brains do, whether you have a dinged up mental health or not. But let's be supportive, okay? Let's be those people who decide they're going to be supportive about mental health instead of stigmatizing people about their mental health. I don't know. What do you think? I think that'd be a great idea. So, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I'm not sorry because of my brain. I'm sorry because it's just kind of like, what is happening in here? But, yeah, just be kind to one another. I mean, truly, that whole saying, be kind to someone else because you have no idea what they're going through. You don't. Again, I'm not telling you what you should be on, what you shouldn't be on. I'm not telling you that you should get help if you don't want to get help. All these choices are your choices. Only you can make these choices. And I'm also not telling you that, you have a mental health issue. That's up for you to figure out. I was diagnosed 28 years ago. Oh my God. Seriously? How old am I now? Yikes. And I know I'm not stigmatizing my age. Just like, wow, when you start thinking back and adding things up, you're like, whoa, it's been that long. But there go my thoughts again. I'm telling you, it's cat wrangling. So I need to finish this. Otherwise, we're just going to keep going in circles. So, yeah, a lot of these perspectives are going to probably end pretty abruptly. Like, I got to be done with this. I'm done. I'm out. I'm over this. I'm not over this, but I'm out. And they're going to probably end like that because of my head. And I guarantee you, in a couple of months, you're going to see the difference between these perspectives and the later perspectives. And yeah, I still squirrel on the other ones. I always go off in different directions, but I'm able to circle back and remember what I was talking about. Right now, circling back is not an option. It's like driving down a toll road in the United States and there's nowhere to turn around. You just got to keep going until there's another one and hope it comes back around. But in this case, we don't have that much time. So be kind to one another. Don't stigmatize people who have a mental health issue. If somebody comes up to you and confides in you that they think they may have depression, ask them, talk to somebody, talk to your doctor. Don't Dr. Google it. Okay. This is not something to mess around on Google with. You can't diagnose yourself on the internet. It requires professional diagnosis. Now, my doctor, my regular GP, was the one that did it. All general practitioners, and in my understanding, are kind of equipped with knowing whether or not, and they will try to help you. If you don't want to be on meds right away, ask them, do I need to be on this, or can you start me on the lowest one? Or because, the thing about meds is it metabolizes differently in everybody. Like they have the old tried and true Prozac, right? But on Prozac, I'm literally the Walking Dead. I am a body with a mouth and eyeballs. That's it. And a brain, but the brain is just kind of like, and that's exactly that's why I call it a zombie, because it's kind of like people would ask me, how are you doing? It's like, But they've since come up with a lot of different things. However, you cannot jump from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. You have to build up that, you have to let your body metabolize it, because it's going to metabolize in different ways. It's going to do a lot of things, and it can wreak a lot of havoc. Every time I get my meds, there is a message in there, because they don't know if it's new or not to you. But every time I do, or I have two that I actually switch back and forth between, like when I feel like one's not working that much anymore, my doctor and I have worked it out that I go to this other one until that one, and then I just kind of bounce between the two. And we work that out, and she'll always tell me, because I'll be like, okay, well, I think it's time for me to move to this, and she'll remind me, taper off on this one, taper back on this one. Okay, because it can wreak a lot of havoc in your brain. And it can lead to bad situations. And I think you know what I mean by bad situations. So antidepressants are not just like changing your brand of aspirin. Antidepressants are changing your chemical makeup. And because of that, you don't want to throw your body and your brain into shock, because that can end up bad. All right. So be careful with that. That is truly my disclaimer to you. That is the one thing I've seen in other people. For one person I know, it did not end well. And, I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to find your balance without putting yourself in harm's way. Okay? So again, this is it. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please take care of yourselves. I know that this opinion was a bit long. I didn't mean for it to be this long. I really wanted it to be shorter. Yeah, I had to say it, because I see it happening to other people. It is stuff that has happened to me, and I think we need to be better to one another, and we need to stop pinning the world's problems on mental health, because like I said, when you're pointing a finger at one thing, there are three fingers pointing back at you. And I see a lot of people who don't have to deal with mental health, or who feel so stigmatized by their own that they try to put up that, yeah, well, I'm not that person, and to that person, you're okay. You're amazing. You're lovable. And you're worth it. And, if people saw how hard you worked every single day to remain on this planet, they would have a lot more respect for you, just like I do. All right? And like I said, I've been there and I've done that. And I promise you, I will work on my worthiness about this too, because there is nothing wrong with those of us who have a dinged up mental health. We have to work a little harder, but when we get the proper care, when we take care of ourselves, when we stop worrying about what everybody else thinks and put our mental health first so that we can function, you know what? That's everything. That's everything. We are no different than anybody else, and we are just as worthy as everybody is. All right? So again, have a great, great day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public on the Aloha Perspective. If you want to catch it later, you are welcome to watch it on my YouTube channel, the Aloha Perspective, my brain. And I also do a short version on TikTok, okay? So that's kind of like I call it the drive-through version, the quickie version, the takeout version, right? So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I just noticed older siblings on. Thank you, older sibling. Have a wonderful day. And I will see you tomorrow.